Okay, I've switched on the camera for the third time. When I've kind of decided to not do it after the first two videos anymore, you know, also I have kind of, okay, installed it a bit differently. And now it has this shadow also. Okay. And more than that, I'm not even sure what I'm going to talk about. Because the first two are kind of new. And the first one, it was about the inner voice of truth, and the second one was about the fear response. Um, at the minute, I'm pulling together one manuscript to kind of send it to a few places. I'm almost, I want to say at the end because it's already draft 5. There are still some structural changes. I'm relieved to kind of know that there is less problems than I thought with it. I mean, there is always problems, but I thought it was worse, actually. And another manuscript, I mean, I'm working on multiple projects at the same time. And another manuscript is kind of beginning to take shape, meaning like I'm sufficiently advanced to kind of get a feel, but as it usually happens when you advance a lot, you only understand that that's the beginning of the story rather than the end. And there are like two other projects which I'm less focused on right now. Yeah. There is also this English one about dating and the first date, which I promised myself I would. Like it is the one with the biggest resistance because it's not that close. It's not very close to to completion, but it's not far. I've already structured it in chapters. It already has 70k words, which is for nonfiction. I think it's the limit, or like it's within the limit. And I have a lot of resistance regarding it because I don't know, like feel wary for some reason coming back to it. But also I've promised myself that if I can continuously work on it until the end of summer, for example, or until the end of September, that I have to put it in shape and to clean it and to write a query letter and to begin this work this year because I'm still on the path. I'm still very much on the path. And even on days where I'm not on the path, I'm on the path still. I know that, like, even if today I don't do much about it, next day I have to, you know, I have to get back on the horse. And even one week, if 1 week I don't work on it, I gotta, I gotta get back. Um, but as I was saying in one of the previous ones, it actually feels like I can do that shit. Like I can send it to people. It's not out of reach. It's not far away. It's not impossible. It doesn't feel suffocating. It doesn't feel terrifying because it used to feel terrifying. Like sitting in front of the camera was terrifying, but sending my work to people felt paralyzing. Like just paralyzing, just horrible. And now I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like I actually can do that. And I actually can survive the reaction. And how do I know it? Because I recently kind of began talking again to this one person that I, knew very briefly in the past. And I found that I could sustain their reaction. I could sustain their criticism. I could sustain their truth. Like, I could sustain other people's response more than I could before. Because before I was terrified. I was terrified to read the comments on my blog. I was terrified of critics. I was terrified. I still remember when I was recording the videos about the literary prize in April, May, which I attributed a lot of meaning to. And I remember myself being so worried about what that one critic would say about me, being so worried about what those bloggers would write about me if I ever went into the long list or a short list. I remember being so into the discussions that they had on modern literature and the discussions they had on books, and so into their opinions, and so worried about the nuances of their thinking, and so invested, because when you're a part of a community, even if you're just a reader, and I was a part of the writing and reading community, you are so worried about what people are saying and what they will say about you, that you literally almost can't sleep at night, and you think, what the fuck they will say, what the fuck will they say, what the fuck will they say. And now I'm just asking myself, but why was I that worried? Why was I worried what they would say? Those are just people on the internet. Those are just people. They will say what they think. Like, yes, but it's their world. It's their opinion. It's only one opinion though. And I attributed so much meaning to what other people will say about me, that I literally couldn't return to myself. And I've seen it in dating, and I've seen it in work, and I've seen it in now in literature as well. I've attributed so much space to what other people thought, that I literally wasn't hearing myself. I wasn't hearing my own voice. I wasn't hearing hearing, sorry, my own opinions about things, because I was too I was too consumed by them. Like, I will give you that one example. I'm following, and I was following, no, I'm not that closely anymore, but a guy who was writing about books. And at first I was a fan. I was such a fan, honestly. He was so smart, he was so articulate, he understood so much about literature, he understood so much about philosophy. He was so literate, so erudite, so like, I idolized him, I think. Like, literally. He and now, when you read people for a long time, for like a few years, and I've been reading him for at least 5 years, I think, 5 4 5 5 years, you and I suppose when you are looking at people and listening to them, you can first of all see if the person is working on themselves or not. Not even the physical appearance. You can see the way the person is talking, you can see the way the person is acting, you can see the way, like, you can tell if the person is working on themselves or they are not. They could be working on themselves by a number of ways. They could be doing, like, I mean, any number of things, but you can see if the person is developing and working on themselves, if they're becoming deeper, if they're becoming more thoughtful, if they understand more about life, if they climb, like, higher, if they're more self-aware, if they're more compassionate, if they're helping people more, if they're like, if they're developing, like, if their each next thing is better than the last, for example, like, if they're finding new versions of themselves, if they are finding new ideas, if they're farming those ideas, if they're like, if they are moving forward and up, you can see it. And usually one thing is those people relentlessly work on their thing and relentlessly work on themselves. Like, they release new videos, they release new books, they work on their art, they do it, they do it, they do it, they do it, and they never stop. They search for new creative inspirations, they read new books, they fuel themselves, they don't criticize others, they don't get into discussions, and they don't get angry at the world or something. And I'm talking, and I'm thinking, like, all the people I admire, they constantly work on themselves, they constantly move forward, they never stop, they never stop. And this guy, I idolized him in the beginning. He was so smart, he had so much, in my opinion, in terms of intelligence and critical ability. But you know what I started noticing? Mm, I started noticing that he is bitter. um he's not satisfied with his life, and it seeps into his critiques. He is too politically limited. and meaning like he's too politically biased. Um, he doesn't work on them on himself as much as he should. He doesn't work on his own level in life as much as he should. He gets into pitiful small arguments. Like, for example, who said this critique about me on the internet? I will respond to them, and then I will critique them, and they will respond to me, and I will critique this response to me. Like, he's getting into these pitiful discussions and attributing so much importance to them. And, like, as far as I am concerned, you should never get into those things if you're a big person. If you're a person who wants to accomplish something, you are not discussing with your haters why they hate you. Like, nope, you're not doing that. And also, sometimes he's not taking the higher road. He's criticizing someone's looks or personality, unfortunately, which is also a no no. And like, it's very clear that he wants an audience, that he wants to be admired, that he wants to be posing in front of the audience and being like this Greek philosopher, and he wants to be like this. And he wants to be admired for his mind, for his talent. He wants to be looked at. He wants to be seen, and he is. He amassed, quite some audience and quite some views in the years that he had been writing. And also that he wants to be a writer, but he doesn't have enough talent for it, unfortunately. That's just a given. Or maybe one day he will have enough, I don't know. But I think he kind of. I have the expression in my native language in my head, but not in English, but he kind of, chooses to play small. That's the equivalent, right? He chooses to play small and to play insignificant and to play like on his playground, you know, and to be in the playground. He's constantly asking why there are no geniuses, authors on the market, or if why all the novels are so bad, which is partially true, but not completely. He's kind of in his playground and he's comfortable in his playground. And I was always wary of people who are comfortable in their backyard and their playground. Because life is not only their playground, life is vast. Life is vast. And you gotta always aim to get out of the playground. Don't play with your haters in there. Like, get out of the playground. Don't play with people who admire you. Don't play like it's the the lesson of satisfaction. Like, if you're in a comfortable position and you're comfortably influencing someone, it's too comfortable. Like, get out of there. Get the fuck out. And don't don't pose as the Greek philosopher. Just think of ways that you can be bigger, you can do bigger things, you can expand, you can better yourself. Like, I don't know, in his case, start a YouTube channel, like reach more audiences, do new formats, um, like move forward, experiment, write, reach more people, like have uncomfortable conversations, get yourself in situations where your critics are challenged. Like, to become truly influential, you gotta grow. To become truly influential, you gotta work on yourself and your art. And he's just kind of in his niche and staying in his niche. And to be honest with you, almost repetitive. Like, it's almost all the same old kind of. Like, for the past 2-3 years, it's kind of almost the same. Like, the novels he's criticizing are almost the same. The things he says are almost the same. Like, it lacks this novelty that it used to have in the beginning when he like. And I do think it's a consequence of lacking of work on himself. because any person who's influencing someone should have new stuff to do, should work on their stuff, and should have new stuff to say. He should always remain interesting. Like, I mean, he should strive to always remain interesting. People should be listening every single time. And if you're telling them the same thing every single time, eventually they stop listening to you. If you are the same every single time, eventually they stop. They lose interest. Um, and I don't know, I'm just seeing the cracks kind of. I'm seeing the posing, which I don't like. I'm seeing the involvement in discussions with haters. I'm seeing also, the when you're in a small community, but with a lot of like fueled by a lot of hate towards each other, because the authors actually hate each other at times. They are very envious, very jealous. When you're in a small community, and everyone around you is kind of like having the similar opinions to you, you lose sight of the bigger picture. First of all, you lose sight of what's happening outside of it. And second of all, you overestimate the importance of what's happening in the community. Like, if you have 10, 15, I don't know, 20, 30 people commenting on your shit, which is good, of course. Sorry, I should have said on your stuff, on your posts. If you're having this tight knit community of people who are interested in the same thing you are interested in, if you are like hyper focused on what's happening inside of it, you will you will I don't know, like your mind will work in a way where you think that this community, this thing here, is the most important thing in the world. And I think I've spoken about this. Like, people in systems, any communities, are very focused on what's happening inside, and they overvalue what's happening inside and undervalue everything that's happening outside of it. Like, you're hyper focused on what's happening in your family, of course. You're hyper focused on what's happening in your community. You're hyper focused who hates who said what about whom, like who doesn't like someone at work, what's the office politics like, what will the new person do, what will the new person say, why is this like not happening, why is this project stalling. Like, you are focused on what's happening inside that little ball. And I can tell by reading him that he's hyper focused on his audience and his bubble. He's in his bubble. And he overvalues who said what about him. He overvalues what people think about him. He overvalues the opinion of people he respects and doesn't respect. He reads conversations about himself, critics about himself. He's like deep into the lore of everything. He deeply is invested in this bubble. And but the problem is, first of all, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. You gotta think bigger. You gotta do bigger things. You gotta learn new stuff and go into new territories. Like, in my case, I went onto a whole new language, a whole new fucking language, because I wanted to try myself inside it, and I didn't want to close myself in my own language, in my own little world. Like, I went to a whole different terrain, you know. So first of all, it doesn't fucking matter. All those discussions and things people said in the comments, and the things people said in the comments, and how they hate you, and like, if you are fueled by that, by your tight knit thing, you will forever stay inside it. And you will ask why there is no life inside it. Well, because you have never looked outside of it. And if you're too invested in what things are happening around you and people say about you, your ego is too inflated. And yeah, it doesn't serve you. And that's why I got disappointed. Because he's very smart, he's very intelligent, he's very progressive, he's very analytical, he's intuitive, he's everything. But like, the direction he's taking and the amount of work that should be more, and the view that should be eagle's eye and not just this tight community, And his egoistic desire to entangle himself into what people say about him is kind of his downfall, I think. Because when the book is truly good, whatever your bubble thinks and says is not what's more important than the whole world thinks. Like there is a whole world outside. Like some song was saying, there is a whole world outside of you, outside of your little circle. And now I'm reading sometimes and I'm like, what you think matters doesn't matter. What you think it's important is actually not. What you think that person said, like, I would forget about it. You're occupying your mind by the wrong stuff. You gotta think bigger. You gotta raise above, rise above. You gotta rise above, rise above. And he can't rise above. Like, or maybe doesn't want to.